If I were your devil, I wouldn't come with fire or fury. I'd come with empathy in my eyes and virtue on my tongue. I'd speak softly about compassion, fairness, and safety. And I'd promise to build a better world. One regulation, one policy, one feeling at a time. I wouldn't tempt you with evil, I'd tempt you with goodness. The kind that asks for obedience in exchange for belonging. I'd learn your language, your fears, your guilt, and I'd make you believe that control is kindness. If I were your devil, I would not come to burn books. I would come to rewrite them. I would not silence voices. I would simply teach you which ones not to hear. I would not demand obedience with a whip. I would earn it with applause. I call it kindness, I call it progress. I'd make submission look like compassion. I begin with your empathy, because it is your most noble weakness. I'd whisper, if you truly cared, you'd agree. And out of love, you'd surrender judgment. Out of guilt, you'd surrender speech. And out of fear of offending, you'd surrender truth. If I were your devil, I'd redefine freedom, not as liberty, but as liberation from discomfort. I'd make you believe that safety is the highest good and that offense is the gravest sin. Then every censorship would feel like protection. Every punishment would feel like progress. I'd make words more dangerous than weapons, and disagreement a form of violence. I'd tell you that tolerance means silence, and inclusion means obedience. I'd make heroes out of victims, and victims out of everyone. I'd give them endless reasons to feel oppressed, and then promise salvation through control. If I were your devil, I'd create ministries of sensitivity, committees, councils, and codes, not to suppress hate, but to supervise thought. I'd rewrite law in the language of emotion. I'd make morality bureaucratic and compassion mandatory. I'd replace commandments with policies, repentance with public apology, and forgiveness with compliance. If I were your devil, I'd replace faith with feelings and justice with hashtags. I'd make the sermon a slogan and the gospel a brand. I'd give you equality of outcome and call it heaven on earth. And when everything is equal, nothing will be free. I'd use science not to discover, but to justify. I'd make experts your priests, and their consensus your creed. I'd label dissent disinformation, and hide dogma behind peer review. I'd build a world where virtue is measured in statements, where your goodness is proven by what you condemn. I'd make outrage a hobby and shame a sport, and I'd call it activism. If I were your devil, I'd turn compassion into currency. You'd spend it for approval, trade it for acceptance, and borrow it for forgiveness. I'd make government your conscience and technology your confessor. Your phone would remind you when to care, what to say, what to think, and you'd call that progress. I'd teach you that the ends justify the kindness and that love means legislation. And I'd make every injustice a justification for more control, until you cannot breathe without permission and cannot speak without apology. If I were your devil, I'd never call myself evil. I'd call myself good. Good for all, good for the planet, good for you. And I'd make sure you believed it. For the greatest tyranny of all is not hatred. It's compassion without truth, justice without mercy, and virtue without freedom. And I'd keep right on doing what I'm doing, one good intention at a time.